Hey, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast here on the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you from the Retro Wrestling Archive here in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama. And please join me in welcoming back my co-host. First up, it's the Nightmare Nephew himself, Josh Briley of P3 Radio. Josh, how you doing this morning, man?
I am absolutely awesome, Gene. I'm still here after all these freaking storms, man. I'm happy you are as well. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. But yeah, y'all been getting hammered over there. We've had a bunch of rain here this morning. We've got a couple of tornado warnings out there, but mostly rain. But nothing like the stuff you guys been dealing with for the last few days. So glad you made it through. Glad you're here this morning to talk some good old USWA wrestling. But you're not alone. While you don't have your regular tag team partner, Richard Mulliken, is out on the road like Lee Marshall used to be back in the WCW Monday Nitro days. I don't know if he's going to call in from a payphone at some point. But in his place, of course, we always have a backup. He's the owner, founder, and president of STSPod.club. Spoiler alert, it's Brian Tramel. Brian Tramel, how are you doing this morning, sir?
Whoop, there it is. See, I got it going, guys. Brother Gene, Brother Josh. Gene is my best friend, and Josh is my favorite host of P3 Radio. How y'all guys doing? I'm doing fantastic. I survived the storms. I spent some time in my safe spot, in which I don't usually do since I grew up in Tornado Alley, and it doesn't usually scare me. I take naps during storms, but it was kind of scary this week. So we went to the safe spot a couple of times, me and the pets and the wife. So,
well, it's good when you got one of those to go to, and can have that backup plan. So glad to hear that, because I know there are, like you said, there's a lot of tornadoes over in that neck of the woods. But I'm glad you guys made it through and are able to join us for another episode of the good old USWA podcast. And we've done it again. We've upset someone, guys.
Oh, I can't imagine.
No.
We never set out to do that. It's never our intention to upset anybody.
Oh,
but
it
somehow,
is my
some
intention.
Way,
it is.
I
try to
we
upset
can't
Richard
speak
at
for
least
BT.
every episode.
Well, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, your mere existence upsets Richard.
Well, I knew that, but yeah.
Spoiler alert. But we got a call on the old voicemail hotline about. I didn't even think on the main. I mean, I know we said some things on Patreon that I don't know if I'd want this guy to hear, but I didn't think we said anything on the main show that was really that offensive. But check this out, guys.
Iceman coming, baby. I can't just let y'all sit up there and talk about little Midget D, man, my little midget man. Midget D is head and shoulders above all other midgets, man, especially that little fucker, Little Eagle. Danny was a good fucking dude, man, and he was a fucking computer whiz, too. Y'all remember Windows Vista? Danny knew that operating system like the back of his little tiny fucking hand, man. I'd bring my laptop over, I'd go outside and play with my fucking flamethrower. He'd work his little midget magic. My laptop's running good, man. Y'all need to watch your fucking mouth.
Wow.
We've upset the Iceman.
Wow.
I'm not going to speculate on who the Iceman could be, but I think we all have an idea.
Wow.
I was more, I really, I was kind of more expecting maybe a voicemail saying, "Hey, why are you talking about my Daisy Dukes? Let's forget about those." But no, we got the Iceman instead, and I didn't think we said anything too disparaging about little Midget D in there, but I guess he took offense to some of that. We do apologize, right, Josh?
No, definitely. But I mean, like the main offender, I believe, is Richard Lee, and he's not here to defend himself. So maybe we can get an apology out of him when he comes back.
Perhaps Richard Lee, kind of walks a fine line, because he will tell you, and people who know him can attest to this. There's no bigger fan of Midget D than Richard, but then again, he'll talk about the density of a bowling ball and, and say some things that may be less than flattering about those types. So we're sorry, Iceman, and we apologize on behalf of Richard Lee, all the Richard Lees out there, be it the one from this show and some that may be somewhere high on Moondog Mountain right now. Brian, we're ashamed to drag you into this. We hope we don't, get you in any kind of heat with anybody by association here, because I know you're a big fan of Midget D, or just D in general, right?
I just love Midget D. I really do. I'm glad to be part of the Midget D. So there's a Reddit feed on that I always follow. It's Midget D. So it makes me feel better,
All right. Well, I think that's enough Midget D talk for now, but although we'll get back to it pretty soon here if this episode is anything like the recent episodes. But right now, let's head back to October 23rd, 1993. We are burning right through the year of 1993, guys. Can you believe we're already at the end of October?
Wow.
And we're going to be done with 1993 sooner rather than later. And coming up on the show, we're going to talk about this morning, but we're going to talk about real soon where we're headed after 1993. And we may put like a poll on the Facebook page and make sure that everybody's on board with what we're wanting to do and make sure it's the right move. I don't want anybody who's invested their time in the show to be upset with what we're planning on doing. So we'll talk more about that in the very near future. But right now, Dave Brown and Corey Macklin are exceptionally enthusiastic this morning. Dave says we have a jam-packed show. And Corey Macklin lets us know that we're going to be seeing PG-13 in there, taking on Jeff Gaylord and Mike Anthony. Plus, we'll see Brian Christopher. Doink the Clown is in the studio this morning, guys. And in the main event, like Gorilla Monsoon used to say, this would be a main event in any arena in the country, folks. Moondog Spike versus the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett. Now, that's a fabulous main event, guys, if I've ever heard one. Are you excited? You're speechless, apparently.
I'm excited about PG-13 opening the show. I'm a big PG-13 mark. So talented guys, even with the Midget D out there. I think it added a little bit to the act, and I really like it. So, and I did talk to Wolfie about where Midget D came from. He was a friend of Jamie's, which y'all said that y'all figured he was, and they worked for, I don't know if this name is familiar to you guys, but a guy by the name of Dale Mann. Dale Mann ran outlaw shows. I had asked Wolfie if he considered that outlaw, but yeah, they were considered outlaw shows. And I remember going to the gimmicks table in Memphis, and they had, so one of you will probably remember the name. I want to say it was Wrestling Review. Is that right? It was the magazine.
Yeah.
And they always had the Dale Mann results in there. And I never knew who the hell he was, but I would notice some of the guys that would come into Memphis or leave Memphis, they were working for, and it usually was the undercard guys like Sarge O'Reilly or Ken Raper or people like that. So
I think that's who Eric Embry got to start with, right?
Might have been.
Absolutely. Dale Mann was like the poster child for outlaw promoters. Like he was the go-to guy. If you mention outlaws, like, oh, like Dale Mann, and people go, oh yeah, exactly, like Dale Mann. So, all right, that's cool. I like that. BT always brings us some insight. He's a lot of these guys will still speak to BT. That
I got no hate with anybody.
Don't speak to me anymore for whatever fucking
except
reason.
the guy that lives in my town. So that's the guy I have heat with. Other than that,
but Brian confirming that was Jamie Dundee's midget. So
yeah.
God,
raised him from a pup, as he said.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that'd be a Moondog. They also let us know that due to all this tomfuckery with the Moondogs and I guess you call them the Tiger Twins, because it's Tiger Mike Anthony and the Missouri Tiger Jeff Gaylord, the tag team titles have been held up, and we're going to be having a tournament to crown new champions. Because boy, we certainly know over the years in Memphis, we like nothing better than to hold some damn titles up and have a tournament anytime we can justify it.
I was just fixing to comment that, man. I was like, man, we've been snatching some titles up here in the last month. This is the third occasion. What, in 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah. I watched some random USWA Dallas episode the other day on YouTube that I just come into, and it said 2 cage matches. I was like, well, that sounds interesting. I'll watch that. And that was probably like 91, 92, something like that. They have 2 cage matches. One's for the Southern title, one's for the Texas title. The first one's for the Southern title between Jeff Jarrett and Dr. Tom Pritchard. And a friggin' cage match comes down to Tojo hands in a gimmick to Tom Pritchard. He knocks out Jeff Jarrett. The USWA matchmaker guy comes out. Hold it up. The Southern title is held up. Now, the whole gimmick at the beginning of the match was we're gonna have 2 title matches, and we're gonna have a definitive winner because they're in cages. Second cage match, Eric Embry versus Superstar Bill Dundee for the Texas Heavyweight title. Once again, Tojo gets involved. Eric wins through nefarious means. USWA matchmaker comes out. Fuck it. Titles held up. 2 cage matches, 2 title matches, 2 titles held up in the same show. It's like USWA is code for held up or something. I don't know. But anyway, match number 1 today, PG-13, JC Ifen and Wolfie D with little Midget D in there, taking on Tiger Mike Anthony and the Missouri Tiger Jeff Gaylord. Dave Brown showing how hip and cool he is right out of the gate by making a timely Mad Hatter from the Alice in Wonderland reference about Jamie's hat.
It's so sad. I hate to admit this. I thought the same thing. So there we go. God, before Dave said it, I was like, Dave Brown, man, he heard me. He heard me say that.
I was waiting for Corey to go, Jesus Christ, Dave, how old is Alice in Wonderland?
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's public domain, Dave. Dang.
That's a hip-hop hat, Dave. So the match gets going, and I got to say, this match was a lot better than any match involving Jeff Gaylord had any right to be. It was a pretty fun match. There were a couple of miscues in the corner where Wolfie is trying to cut Mike Anthony off with a boot to the face, and it goes awry twice. So they finally just sell it the second time, and we just move on. But I don't know. Before we get to how this thing ended, again, when I looked and saw, Gaylord's involved, I was like, oh, what are they doing to PG-13? But other than that little snafu, which didn't involve Gaylord, it actually involved Mike Anthony twice. This was a fun little match. What'd you guys think of it?
It was. PG-13 is so good. Even at this point of just calling the match and getting the flow and doing what they're supposed to do. Like you said, that one spot was messed up twice. Looked like he got him the second time, though, a little bit.
It went by the side of his face. Like, it caught him enough to sell it, but it still didn't catch him on the chin. It still went by his head. But,
it's one of those things where you send somebody in the corner and you say something, and I'm thinking Mike Anthony hit that corner, and he goes, what the fuck did Wolfie just say? And then he does it. Then he says it again. He goes, I still didn't hear him. So Wolfie must have said, sell, or whatever. But, yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I liked it. I mean, like, we're picking it apart, like, we saw that it was a mess up, but, just as a kid, like, I didn't notice that because it looked, even their mess ups were good enough to just be passable and it looks natural,
Well, if they hadn't did it twice, I really probably wouldn't even thought much about it here. But the fact that they did it and then did it again, and it kind of went this way. I'm guessing it was one of those deals where Wolfie said, watch the foot.
Right.
He's like, what does that mean?
What is that?
Foot do what? And to be fair, Mike Anthony right now is still so distracted by the fact that he did his very best, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, I tried so hard for you. Dude, I had a really high opinion of Mike Anthony and like how he was working and his look and everything. That fucking promo ruined him for me. Ever since that Mr. Lee, please don't kick me out, Mr. Lee. Like, it's completely warped my perception of Mike Anthony. And then tagging with Jeff Gaylord's not helping either. But like I said, fun match. Eventually things break into a 4-way, bringing little Midget D in there. And he started cracking folks with the hubcap, of course, for a DQ, because we can't have a clean finish.
That's right. You gotta have it.
Ever. And even though Midget D was cracking people with the hubcap, Mike Anthony and Jeff Gaylord make a comeback. They corner little Midget D, and this happened.
Oh, look out, they got him trapped in there. Whoa, but he's in between Gaylord and Anthony. They've got Wolfie D, Midget D there in the ring. They're going to throw him out of there, it looks like. Oh, be careful. That's, I don't know. And they drop Midget D. Look at this. Here comes the little eagle. Yeah, little eagle calling for Gaylord. Said, hey, let me have him. He's going out there for Midget D. Drop kicks Midget D. Another drop kick from little eagle. And Midget D slides out, and boy, he's ready to get out of here as far as away from the ring he can get. Well, I hope Midget D will think twice before he gets involved in a match again. Little Eagle came in and took care of him. Gaylord and Mike Anthony looking mighty good in their match. They're going to win it.
I loved it. I loved the PG-13's movement outside the ring. I love they would come back and back. I was like, I was watching it, and I was actually saying to myself, they're not going to throw him, right? Don't throw him. Don't throw. But they kept going in and out.
Until they dropped him, I wasn't sure, to be honest with you.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Awesome.
I wanted them to toss him so bad. I did. I was like, please. And then, and I bet that maybe there was a chance, and that's why they were like legit moving. It wasn't like it was adding dramatics. They were legit concerned because Jeff Gaylord, man, you never know about him. He's a wild dude, and a throw, from him could just get way sideways.
Yeah. Midget D was sweating bullets until he finally hit the mat because, like you said, if Jeff Gaylord decides mid-swing, we weren't supposed to throw him, right? And Gates like, no, we weren't. And now he's hung up on the rope somewhere. But, yeah, I was glad BT pointed that out because that, to me, made the whole thing. Jamie and Wolfie going back, up and back and up with each swing as he's swinging. And they was swinging him high on them things. That was – and I don't know, like, Corey's genuine amusement at that made it funny to me too. He's like, like the way he was laughing. He couldn't even do his announcery like Lance Russell impression because he was so genuinely tickled by what he was seeing there. And of course, Tony Williams had the full outfit on this week. Last week Richard pointed out that he didn't have the pants, that they hadn't gotten them away from you yet, but apparently one of the Eagles got the pair of pants off of you. I'll let everybody figure out which one it probably was. And and now Little Eagle has the full Little Eagle outfit. I just hate that if they didn't get their own midget and maybe call it Little Gaylord or something. Might have been fun. And we could have had
or Tiger Cub.
Yeah, and then every tag team would have their own midget, and it'd be like a separate division or something. But whew, that was I was mad watching that at first. And one was like, God dang it, we had to do a DQ. Did we have to do it? But then all this happened, and they're swinging Midget D out there, and it kind of made me forget all about that. It was a lot of fun. Next up, we get the star of the USWA. Eddie Marlin comes out, and he calls Richard Lee out there to officially strip the Moondogs of the USWA tag team titles. And of course, Richard Lee's not happy about it. The Moondogs aren't happy about it. So if they're going to get stripped of the titles, well, Moondogs are going to strip Eddie Marlin of his clothes. So little something for the ladies this week as they get to see the Moondogs strip off the clothes of Eddie Marlin. And not to spoil anything, Josh, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be BT's favorite segment of the show. When we get let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Moondogs molesting Marlin. Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Oh man! Afterwards, we get a fiery promo from Eddie Marlin who says the Moondogs will have to fight to get those belts, and Eddie Marlin, well, he'll be there to watch. That was an awfully fired up, heated promo.
And I'll be there to watch.
For a guy who's just there to watch. I was expecting him to be like, and I'm going to have a tag team partner. Tommy Gilbert's coming back to town. We're going to go for those tag team titles. But no, he just stands there with his nipple hanging out of his ripped shirt and says he'll be there to watch, just like Cut Chad or something.
Fucking hot. Oh.
Dude, he held on to those belts like they were family heirlooms.
He did.
Like they were his documents, and he was in a foreign country, and they were trying to snatch them from him. I was like, he's almost holding on a little too hard for.
Look at him there. He's all his clothes are all ripped up. But he's got a firm grip on those belts.
He looks like a tornado victim.
He's like Mike Anthony. He's like Mike Anthony. They couldn't snatch that belt away from you last week if you'd have held on to him like this right here. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Marlin. I just didn't have a good grip on it, Mr.
I fought my heart out for you.
I tried so hard to keep those belts, Mr. Marlin. Yes, he looks like he went through some of them storms that swept through there yesterday. But by God, he kept everything. He lost everything except the USWA tag team titles. He held on to those, but his family didn't quite make it. But he held on to those. Let's go ahead and have our first podcast commercial break. Get that out of the way, and then we can get into a little bit of news about the USWA Survivor Series that took place this past week at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Jackson, Tennessee, get ready for a night of non-stop laughs at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill. On May 10th at 7 p.m., we're bringing some of the best comedians in the area to the stage. Tickets are $10 at the door, but why pay more? Grab yours in advance for just $7 at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. Great food, cold drinks, top-tier comedy. What more could you ask for? This event is 18 and over, so make sure you bring your ID and your best sense of humor. Comedy at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill, May 10th, 7 p.m. in Jackson, Tennessee. Be there.
All right. We appreciate all our great sponsors and friends that support the podcast here each and every week. And next up, we're going to see highlights from last week's Survivor Series elimination match, pitting the USWA versus the WWF. And this time, guys, it really is a Survivor Series match. It really is an elimination. They get it done right. And I actually want us to check some of this out because this is pretty interesting what went down here.
Promoter Eddie Marlin with some words in now. See what Eddie's saying. He's talking to Koko Ware. Oh, Koko hits Eddie, jumps on Eddie Marlin. Jeff Jarrett's out. Oh, boy, what a brawl already into the ring. That's Lawler. Going out to Doink the Clown. Jarrett, Christopher, Koko Ware, Shawn Michaels out on the floor. That's Jarrett and Koko going at it. Lawler, whoa, whoops Michaels into the ropes, flips back out, and a big right from the King. Lawler drops another right hand down on Michaels. The Survivor Series is underway in Memphis, Tennessee at the Mid-South Coliseum. Power driver from Lawler. Look at this, Brian Christopher jumps in, gets the cover, 2. He got it, 1, 2, 3. That'll do it, and that's going to eliminate Shawn Michaels. He's the first one to be eliminated from the Survivor Series. Michaels will lead. Koko Ware whips Jarrett in. Sunset flip from the Fabulous One. He's got Koko rolled up, 2, and Ware kicks out at 2. Lawler's got Doink the Clown. Koko, DDT's the Fabulous One. Hey, look out. Shawn Michaels back up in the ring. On the apron, gets up and nails Lawler with something he pulled out of his tights. Koko covers the King. 1, 2, 3. Lawler's eliminated from the Survivor Series, so it leaves Jarrett and Christopher, Doink the Clown, and Koko Ware. Boy, Lawler eliminated. Michaels eliminated. Jarrett going after the Clown. Doink. Koko up on the ring apron. Oh, Koko nailed Jarrett with something out of his tights. Doink the Clown covers Jarrett. 1, 2, 3. Jeff Jarrett is eliminated from the Survivor Series with a big assistance from Koko Ware down at the lower part of your screen there. Koko holding the foot of Jarrett. So it leaves Doink the Clown and Koko Ware against Brian Christopher. Christopher representing the USWA and in a bad situation right now. With Doink holding him, there's Koko Ware up on the middle rope. Koko, he comes down and hits Doink. Christopher covers the Clown. He got it. 1, 2, 3. Doink the Clown's eliminated. It leaves Christopher and Koko Ware. Whoa, boy, what about the Survivor Series? The electricity inside of the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum has been high for this one. Christopher slams Koko down. The Clown is back out here. Doink Frank Morrell's attention while Shawn Michaels jumps in on Christopher. Oh, Christopher gets out of the way. Grabs Michaels, throws him over the top rope out of there. Covers Koko Ware. Frank Morrell is down. He got him. Yes, sir. The USWA wins the Survivor Series.
So that's a little bit longer clip than what we normally show here, but I felt it was pretty important to show. Our intel that we got from the Wrestling Observer last week had some bad information in it. It said that Lawler pinned HBK, but no, Lawler pile drove HBK. But Brian actually pinned Shawn Michaels, Doink the Clown, and Koko B. Ware. He made all 3 eliminations here. And clearly, we kind of, touched on this last week, but, we're in the process of turning Brian Christopher babyface, and we are also establishing that he is just as big a star. He's on the same level as Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler. And boy, this match is really, I wanted to show as much of that as I could, because this is really a pivotal moment in the transitioning of Brian Christopher from, upper mid-card heel to on his way to main event babyface. Pinning Shawn Michaels is a big deal.
I thought so too. I mean, they put him over big. This was the way to put him over. We criticize a lot of stuff that they're doing, but you could not put someone over better than right there. Also, Koko pinning Lawler. I thought that was a big deal. And then Brian being able to pin Shawn was a big deal too. And we'll talk about his interview, but I thought that was kind of perfect too, the way he put it over. So 30 minutes, by the way, that was a marathon match for Memphis Wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum, but loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Do you think that maybe Lawler he got the pile driver on Shawn that way that, because, I guess it mattered who pinned Shawn or, or who made it to where Shawn was unable to kick out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Was it, you think it was that type of thing where it wasn't Shawn was totally comfortable with just letting Brian do his thing, then pin him. It was I'll let Lawler do that and then you can pin me, but you're not going to get me with a super kick. And
I'm sure it was, because you're getting over on him, but then he's losing. So I think that was part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a number of different angles was done that way. Not only maybe to appease Michaels, but it's something you can call back to down the line. If Brian Christopher's bragging about beating Shawn Michaels, but you wouldn't have beat Shawn Michaels if I pile drove him, if there's ever a heel Lawler in the cards down the line. But, Brian comes out and cuts a promo, putting over his performance in the Survivor Series. And what I do like is, even though we're on the road to a babyface Brian Christopher, it's not one of these deals where now he just walks out, he's a new Brian Christopher. He still comes out, he's cocky. Hey, Dave, I'm glad you said that. I held up my end because I was going to say it if you didn't. He's still interacting with Dave the same. He's still putting himself over. He's still bragging. But he does have the humility to say, but hey, those guys come out and saved me at the end. Thank you. And then the crowd popped for that. So I thought, kind of like Brian alluded to a minute ago, not only was the way they played out the match perfect, but the way they handled this interview was perfect, because it's Brian Christopher. It's the Brian Christopher we've come to know. But he's changing a little bit, but he's not just all of a sudden, hey, Mr. Good Guy, all of a sudden, because I hate when they do that. I hate when a guy, through circumstances, becomes a babyface and it completely changes who they are and who you've known them to be.
Well, he wanted Dave Brown to know that he had pinned all 3 of those guys. So that was still the heel Brian. And then coming at the end, what he said, was kind of babyface. But this wasn't just, everybody loves him now. But remember, we've been watching this, and Brian's been getting cheers no matter what. So he comes out to that song, especially when he was without Tony. He was getting a pop when he walked out no matter what. So, you're looking at a big babyface turn. And when I was doing the website, even Brian's matches that they would show from old WWE was getting bigger ratings than some of the stuff on the show. So he's always been over there.
Yeah, this moment, to me personally as a kid, rewatching it, kind of just I had all those feels again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I view this as like he was on the dark side, and in the middle of the interview he shifts fully over. That's how I saw it as a kid, and like because he was like you were saying, he was healing at the beginning. He was taking the jabs at Dave. He's still the same Brian as just same. And then it's like he flips the switch or something, and then it's almost like his facials, his eyes changed. Even it was
I like the Cena thing recently, where you just see that
every little bit of him changed, and he was like, "And thank you," and you could feel, man. I felt that energy in the crowd. Even they were like, starting to cheer. There was like, I was, this is it. This is it. And I remember being a kid, dude. It's weird. Like that feeling I got when this happened, it was, oh my God, he stepped over the line finally, because there was teases,
we had that 1 week turn, where, he got into it with Simply Divine, and then him and Jarrett wrestled Simply Divine and won, but then he turned, inexplicably turns on Jarrett at the end, but the crowd was fully with him then. We could have went babyface Brian then and been on the, on our way, but they weren't ready to do it. But they also now had it in their back pocket going, oh, okay, well, we got this whenever we need it, it's there. And it's funny to me because, like, moving forward, the big babyface stars in the near future are going to be Brian and PG-13. The crowd's already firmly behind PG-13. PG-13 is fighting an uphill battle every single week to be heels with this audience. And Brian, it wasn't to that extreme, but like BT said, they were already cheering Brian and wanting to cheer Brian. And this is just the perfect way to ease into it. Like you said, if he'd just come out here high-fiving everybody and everything's wonderful, hey, Dave, good to see you, and hugged him or some shit, it'd been like, what is this? But he, kind of dipped his toe in, and here we are. And so he like I said, he poked some fun at Lawler and Jarrett, but then he thanks them. And eventually, Doink the Clown and Reggie B. Fine make their way out to the desk, and we get what has to be, to my recollection, guys, is probably our first full-on Reggie B. Fine promo. He's leaned over the desk and he's made comments, and he's been on his way to the ring and stop and say a little line here and there. But this is the first time he's got to speak, and interact with somebody the way he is with Brian here. And this was a lot of fun. This back and forth with him and Reggie. And of course, Brian, as usual, his borderline racist response to some of the stuff. What did you guys think of this back and forth with Reggie and Brian here?
I was like, man, you stepped over the line, and there you are. You're going back over again, dude.
I felt the same way.
There were so many ways that this situation could have been approached, but it's so 90s, man. Like that was a babyface move back then. Sadly, you know what I mean?
Especially in the South. Let's make fun of black people. Yeah. So
it's in those moments where it was very clear to me that Brian Christopher is Jerry Lawler's son, because you could hear Jerry Lawler in him, because that's the exact same thing Lawler would have said. Babyface or heel, didn't matter. That would have been Lawler's response. And you could, his facial, like when he said that line, his whole demeanor, his face, his voice, everything was like, that's Lawler right there. That's
yep.
So Brian is about to have a match with Sergeant O'Reilly, and he offers to let Reggie B or his new buddy Doomsday come in here and take him on. But Reggie B says he's pretty confident Sergeant O'Reilly is going to beat Brian Christopher. So we go ahead with match number 2, Brian Christopher versus Sergeant O'Reilly. And early on, Reggie B interjects on commentary that he'd bet his whole paycheck that Sarge can beat Brian Christopher. And Dave got a good line in, wondering out loud, I wonder what kind of payoff Reggie makes. So whether or not that was a big bet or not, I guess. But they have this little decent match here that allows Reggie to talk smack over at the desk. And eventually Brian shoots O'Reilly in the corner and hits him with a super kick that seemed to kick the soul out of his body. Like it was a solid Solid super kick.
We got the Sarge backdrop too. I always love seeing
Yeah.
Sarge go up in the air with the backdrop. So
much like Derek King back in the day, that was a staple of the Sarge O'Reilly match, as it was for Derek. And I remember that's the first thing that stood out to me, seeing Derek King in Corinth, Mississippi in like 97 or 8 or whatever it was, and somebody shot him into the ropes, and he took that big backdrop where his freaking heel of his boot would nearly touch the ceiling tile in the old American Legion building in Corinth. But yeah, we got that backdrop in, and as soon as he hits the super kick, here comes Doink and Reggie B Fine for the DQ, but they didn't actually do anything. I mean, I guess them being in the ring's enough, but we call for the DQ. They don't actually get their hands on Brian, because before they can, the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett, runs in, makes the save. The heels leave the ring, and of course that allows Jeff and Brian to cut a promo. And it's the exact promo you'd expect from these two. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying this is the babyface promo from Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher that you'd expect. And to me, they have a lot of potential as a tag team here. It's a lot of fun to see these guys together, and Brian can learn a lot tagging with Jeff. So it's pretty wild, though, to see these guys together in a promo as a tag team, as much as we've seen them feud.
that's what I was going
In
to say.
1993, all the way back to 92, actually.
The opposite of what you said about Brian Christopher's promo, I think Jeff not once did he say anything about, Lawler used to always do that deal where, Austinado might have turned on me last time he was here, or he's one of the toughest opponents I ever had, but now, Monday night I'm going to tag with him, blah, blah. Jeff just act like they've been buddies forever. So I mean, it was a good babyface promo, but hey, remember y'all just got done feuding. So that surprised me. And also Dave Brown, if you go back and watch the video of this, he has the biggest shit-eating grin while Jeff is actually doing the promo and talking about Brian. It's like he's so happy they're out there doing a promo together. I don't know what it was on that.
Yeah, it was a little odd, if you think about the battles and stuff, but I could only akin it to like, how some MMA fighters, after they have their battles and stuff, it's almost like they become closer in a way. It like brings the battle brings them together.
That would have been a great promo if it would have done that. But
but some kind of acknowledgement of it would have been great. Because it does make Jeff look like a little bit of a goof, because Brian just turned on, like, he saved Brian like 3 months ago, and then Brian turned on him, and then we had a whole second half of the feud. So I get what you're saying, Brian. It some kind of just wink and nod to the camera would have been
right.
Good, But I get it. People were so ready to see Brian as a babyface. I think they were just like, all right, cool, they're together.
Right.
Let's take what we can get here. So next up, match number 3. Doink the Clown versus the American Eagle. And I'm not going to lie, when I turned on this week's episode, a one-on-one match between Steve Lombardi and Ken Wayne was not what I expected to see, but here we are. And decent little TV match here that sees Doink get the win with the foreign object, if you will. But what did you guys think of this match?
I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. And, for all, we say this a lot, but for all the stuff that we say about Ken and stuff, man, that it was a really good match. And, like and you could see like Ken, he never really hit the gym, but at this point in life, he was a little more tubby than he was, say, like 5-6 years before. But man, he could still wrestle his
such
ass
a great
off.
worker. Just can't take that away from him. Just crazy.
Everything he does still looks good. He can make you look fabulous. I mean, like, dude, Steve Lombardi's decent, but he looked great.
He
with
really
Ken Wayne.
Yeah,
and I loved that the way that he got into the sunset, or I guess you would call it, where the sunset flip and try to roll him up. Like the way he got into that was real Dynamite Kid-ish,
Yes.
But yeah, I love this match.
Yeah. I don't know if it came off like I was being insulting when I said I wasn't expecting a Ken Wayne and Steve Lombardi match, but no, that's what I mean is two veterans. Like, you strip away the silly gimmicks here, you take away the American Eagle and the Clown thing, and you got two guys that have been in wrestling for years. And, Steve Lombardi hadn't had a hugely successful career, but my God, he's wrestled everybody who's anybody, especially in the Northeast. And then Ken Wayne, that's been a staple of the South all these years. So it felt like it's just one of those matches. Like, if somebody would have asked me before I turned this tape on, like, did Steve Lombardi ever wrestle Ken Wayne? I'd been like, no, I don't think they would have wrestled like that, because Ken wasn't ever up north, and Lombardi never really came down south. But I forgot one of the runs of Doink the Clown in Memphis, it was Lombardi. It wasn't Matt Bourne. So this was that match. So if you go out of your way to see any match on this particular episode, check out that match. It's fun to see. Next up, we see a clip of Koko B. Ware turning heel last Monday night on Miss Texas. Let's see a clip of that, and then let's hear from the promo queen of the USWA herself, Miss Texas.
They calling Miss Texas all sorts of names in there. Miss Texas got kind of hot in there, came out of the ring, shoved Koko. Koko shoved Miss Texas right there. Oh, that was ridiculous.
Absolutely no excuse for that.
Yeah, and hey, that's not all. TD Steele kind of warned him about shoving Miss Texas. He nailed TD and sent TD down on the floor there and just stumped and stood all over TD. And look at him walking all over Miss Texas. Koko Ware just went berserk down there, I tell you.
We just saw what happened.
Koko, you're a real tough guy by pushing me around. But I'm going to forget about this. But you better stay out of my face. Because if you know me, you know I don't back down from a fight. And if it ever happened again, I promise you will pay for it.
There's a word for Miss Texas.
Fat boy. BT, you better stay out my face.
That's big talk for somebody who got shoved halfway across the Coliseum, Koko.
Oh my God.
The stiffest shove I've ever seen.
I'm convinced, we debate all the time. Like, does Brian Christopher have a problem with Miss Texas? Like, he is just very, very vicious with her. But I think she's getting in these guys' ears. She's like, look, treat me like you treat any other man. And they're doing it. Like, that push was like she had said something about Koko's mom backstage, and he's like, bitch, I got you when we get out here.
And then he was stomping on TD
Oh
Steele. Koko's got a reputation of bullying people, especially jobbers. So it's a wonder that, like you said, it just seems like she gets punishment from the guys as much as she does the girls, or more. So
yeah, but those punches from
I know.
TD rolled up and tried to get all squirrely on Koko.
Yeah, he did.
And Koko just hit him with like just a straight right to the jaw, and then just Fred Astaire tap dance all over his ass. And Miss Texas, I've seen people stomp people, but it wasn't like at one point he was on top of him, turning in a circle, kicking him with both feet. Like
he was singing in the rain on his ass, dude.
Yes. I was like, I didn't know that Fred Astaire and somebody was a wrestling thing, but I just saw it. Like, I watched that clip like 3 times, just the part where he just.
Those punches look like a bathroom fight in high school. Like some shit you would see just pop off.
Did y'all notice that the video also wasn't the regular that they always do video? This was filmed from a different direction. Yeah. And then either the commentary was put on their post or was put on there as they were live. I think the second match, Dave actually told Corey to commentate. So
yeah, most of that was in post, because at one point you hear Corey talking in a monotone, and you see Corey on, like in this clip, you see Corey on the screen. He's about to go over there and try to get between Miss Texas, and then he shoves her. And it was the most, I guess because it was in post, he didn't have the energy, but it was the most monotone. Oh, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I got to.
Dave say that too. Dave says something about it being ridiculous too.
Yeah,
so.
It was ridiculous.
In the library or something.
Yeah, that was just ridiculous right there. I was like, I got to pull a clip of that one and have that one on in the holster over here when we need it. Oh, it was just ridiculous. But that was something, man. Koko put it on him right there. But I tell you, man, Koko's, all the way back to that Patriot incident on Memphis TV in the 80s, where he just beat the dog shit out of that guy. I was doing a show in Jackson, Mississippi one time, and we were supposed to be beating down these guys. Koko had this little army of dudes when he you remember that little stretch where Koko was wearing like the army fatigues?
Yeah, Coco's
and then he
Army
had
or
like
whatever.
Coco's
Yeah.
Army. Well, we were beating some guys down, and Coco's Army was going to run in, and we were going to start beating on Coco's Army. But they're like, but then y'all need to clear out there when Koko comes in. I'm like, don't worry, I will be long fucking gone before Koko. I'll look up, and here comes Koko B. Ware with a chair. I was halfway across the building before he ever stepped between the ropes. Like, he wasn't going to get near me with a fucking chair. And the guy that one of our guys didn't get away, and he got the shit beat out of him with that chair. He had, just welts all over up and down his back. It was terrible. But anyway, I digress. Match number 4, the tag team of Reggie B. Fine and Doomsday, along with Boss Paul, taking on Tony Williams and Ken Raper. And let's hear what Reggie B had to say about this week's tag team partner. We heard last week he was not at all impressed with Charlie Laird, and he tried to recruit Dave Brown to be his partner. But this week, I think he's a little happier with the partner he's got. And then we're going to see a clip where afterwards he introduces a new partner of sorts after the match.
Let me tell you something. I done went and got me a real partner now, and y'all ain't got nothing to worry about. Hey, Boss Paul, I appreciate it. This is the first time in a long time that I can remember coming out here and looking on the contract, and I got some low-budget, Rudy-Poot I don't know nothing about, facing guys like
That's enough, Reggie. Get in the ring. Let's get the match underway. You've had your say. Get in the ring. Prove it in there. Not out here running your mouth. 2, 3.
I told you if I have a partner, I can beat anybody they put me in there with. Hey, don't go to no break.
It's time to go to break.
Hold it, man, hold it.
Okay, hold it. Well, wait a minute. Wait. What do you want?
I got a surprise. I got somebody to put in my corner. I'm pretty. You know I'm pretty. I'm fine. I'm fine and I'm pretty. But I got somebody to be in my corner, is fine, and put it in me. And you know, buddy, just wait 1 minute. Let me go get it.
Reggie, what are you doing? There again, he's delaying the whole thing here.
Reggie B. Fine. Don't tell him what Reggie comes up with back there.
I don't know. Doomsday and Boss Paul are leaving the area right here. Here comes Reggie back.
You know this little pretty thing. You remember her, don't you? I've got some bad news for y'all low budget in Memphis. We're finna get rid of Miss Texas. We're gonna send her back to Dallas down there where that horse there with no tail, all that weave she got in her head. Y'all take a look at this specimen right here. She gonna be in me and Doomsday corner. And Miss Texas, shut up, baby. Miss
The
Texas.
real woman of Memphis is back. Always when needed. Sweet Georgia Brown is in the house.
Yes.
Just say.
Sweet Georgia Brown, brought out by Reggie B. Fine. She's going to be in your corner in the tournament. Is that what I hear?
Yes. And everywhere I go, you're gonna see this little. And Miss Texas, she can go. Y'all can take that man on back down to Dallas.
Miss Texas is not going to just back up and go away, I tell you. Now.
Horse weave.
I've always been a huge fan of Reggie B on the mic. Always funny. I like that he put over, having Doomsday as his partner. Do you guys remember Sweet Georgia Brown's first run here in the USWA?
I do not.
I remember it more like I think she was in on the ESPN USWA a lot. And I do remember, I think it was probably 1990. I remember seeing her, and I think it was with Brickhouse.
Yes, that was. She was his sister allegedly, and because down in Texas initially, Jackie was Sweet Georgia Brown,
right,
and then then the whole Texas Tennessee feud, she became Miss Texas, and then this girl showed up, and she was Sweet Georgia Brown. I guess with the Brown being the implication, she was Brickhouse's. I don't know which came first, that they decided she was Brickhouse's sister and added the name Brown, or if they started calling her Sweet Georgia Brown, like, well, we'll just say you're Brickhouse's sister. But anyway. She's going to be joining Reggie B here, and apparently there must have been more to that on the Memphis version of the show, because she ends up in a lumberjack match against Miss Texas on the Monday night card, but they just kind of mention Miss Texas in passing, and of course Reggie B cracks on her weave, but we go from she debuts today to now we're in a lumberjack match, which is kind of a big jump, but that's what we do here in Memphis, right? So that brings us to our main event, the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett taking on Moondog Spike with Richard Lee. And so This is a decent little brawling style match, but of course we get the predictable run in from Splat, which brings out Brian, which brings out Reggie and Doink and Doomsday and the Eagles and Gaylord and Mike Anthony. And we end up with a battle royal of everyone who's in the studio today anyway, that's going to be in the tag team tournament this week. And that's how we wrap up the show here. Which, that's never a bad choice to end on some action like that. What did you guys think of this Jeff Jarrett Moondog Spike match for what it was before we get our inevitable run in from Splat?
I did not have high hopes for this coming into it, just because the way the Moondogs are now. I knew that somebody's running in. Richard Lee's healing again. It's just he's vicious. He's got that whistle, man. That's the indication of the viciousness. And sure enough, the shitty DDT happens, and it's not long before all the run-ins start. And I do like ending on chaos, but I just don't think it served like a really good purpose in this particular situation. It was just like, big melee, we're going to cut it.
I liked it. I liked the ending with that because of being the tag team tournament coming up. You got all these tag teams going at it against each other. So I was a fan of the ending, just not, I'm not going to do the spoiler. I'm going to do the spoiler. Not a fan of we can't have a finish to a match. I still don't understand that. So,
yeah, it's just the way it is here apparently. So, BT, if you need to step away, we're going to take our final podcast commercial break before we come back and look at the Monday night card and ask you all the questions we ask each week about the show. So we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, if you know what's good for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jarrett, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, we're back, and guys, it's time to. I can't run a clip of Dave Brown running down the card because again, this is not the Memphis version of the show, so we don't have that. So we're just going to have to ask you guys what you think about the show, and then we'll run down what the card was, how many people were there, and what the results were. So, what was your least favorite part of this week's show, based on what we did see?
So mine, I mean, I touched on it just a minute or two ago. Like I just going into this main event with the Moondog versus Jeff, like I knew something was going to happen at the end that was going to make it to where nobody's getting pinned. It's just nothing's going to mean anything. It's just going to be like, and it was like, and the angle that they showed the jumping DDT Jeff did this week. It was like being to the side and to the left during a magic trick show or so, it was like, fuck, that is fucking rotten. That is so bad. I've seen old ladies fall more graceful. It's fucking
Thank
bullshit.
God Richard will never see this show. He would have a stroke.
Oh, this would take him out. And then, like I said, I could see your point, BT, with it making sense with the big tournament coming up, having them all in there, boom, boom, boom. But still, I'm so sick of no finishes and just that type of bullshit.
Me too. I mean, Brian Christopher could have beat Sarge. I'm sorry. The only finish we had, was Ken Wayne getting pinned, right? And the other ones were all. That was probably my least favorite part of the whole show. Just not I understand, but I mean, I don't understand why you can't. Sarge O'Reilly should have been pinned 1, 2, 3, and then they could have jumped in, kind of thing. But yeah, just I hate the non-finishes.
At what point do you start to wonder if you're running the show? Do you think, well, hey, are we screwing things? Like, I understand part of the reasoning behind it, but at the same time, if I'm thinking, is this affecting our draw Monday nights? Because people assume, since they never see clean finishes on the TV, that all they're going to see at the show is a bunch of run-ins.
I think the Mid-South Coliseum results is what's hurting people. What was hurting with the non-finishes, not the TV, because, well, in their mind, the TV is just a commercial. So they're just doing angles to get you into the Coliseum. So they're really not worried about the finishes like we might be worried about the finishes on television. They're worried about the finishes at the Coliseum. So that's where the end result is. But the end result's going to be DQ or something like that. Then the people going to the Coliseum feel like they're being cheated. I feel like that's part of, there's all kinds of stuff going on outside the Memphis area during this time. But still, I think the non-finishes is hurting them, especially at the Coliseum.
I agree. But, I mean, you're not seeing finishes anywhere because,
right.
At least you would have saw clean finishes in the squash matches on most WWF TV. And then if they didn't give you clean, Jim Crockett Promotions, there's an example of, you saw clean finishes on all the squash matches, but then you'd go to the damn show and get a bunch of dusty finishes and not see anything resolve. Well, here you don't see finishes anywhere. You don't see them on TV. You don't see them at the show. You just don't have them, which is frustrating. But all right, so what was your most favorite part of this show?
Yeah, I was pretty detailed about it before, but like it was the Brian Christopher turn. I mean, and I say that like, yeah, he's kind of, you could debate when it started or whatever, but in my mind, that interview, that promo was where he rode into that interview on the black horse. And then he got on the white horse and rode off. You know what I mean? Like he was on the dark side, then he left with the light. You know what I mean? It was like a transformation. And I wanted Brian so bad on our side when I was a kid, because the whole time, even when he was a new kid, like I was like, man, this guy, he can wrestle. I like him because he's young and I want to be behind this guy. And he turns to, too sexy Brian Christopher's like, man, I hate this son of a bitch so bad, but he's so good. I want to like him. This promo is where it happened.
I agree with 100%. Everything he said. My favorite part of the whole show was the turn of Brian Christopher. And I bitch and moan about some of the stuff that they do wrong, but that every bit of that was done almost to perfection for me. The only thing, like I said, I criticized Jeff a little bit, but other than that was putting Brian over the three people at the Coliseum, making sure that you showed that video, making sure you put it over in the interview who he pinned. and putting over the fact that, the two top baby faces actually made the save for him and he thanked them, like Josh said, going from being a heel to the baby face right there in one promo, and showing you, as you said, Gene, who's his daddy, in the sense that he is so good on the microphone and explaining things. This is a different character. He's still Brian Christopher, but he'll get things over a little bit better than just putting himself over. So good stuff. I love the turn.
I agree with that. I agree with everything y'all just said. I will say honorable mention goes to that first match with PG-13 against Anthony and Gaylord. It was a lot of fun.
My honorable mention was Eddie Marlin's nipple. So that was my honorable mention.
Let's see if I was going to say, I just didn't say anything, but if anybody asked me, hey, what was your least favorite part? I was going to say seeing Eddie Marlin get stripped and then cut a fiery babyface promo. That went nowhere. But anyway.
I am the star.
I am the star. It's just like he told Honky Tonk Man, I am the star of the USWA. This is my show. All right. So Monday night, I don't need to ask you the question, would you buy a ticket? Because they weren't trying to sell you a ticket to Monday night. So Monday night, October 23rd, Memphis, Tennessee at the Mid-South Coliseum. We drew about 1,100 for this card. So keep that in mind. Tag team tournament for the USWA tag team titles off this clusterfuck of an angle where we strip Moondog Spike and Mike Anthony, drew almost 200 people more than Lawler versus Randy Savage with Vince McMahon in his corner did 2 weeks ago. So
crazy.
Roll that around in your mouth for a minute. But first match, Little Eagle defeated Midget D in a one-on-one matchup. Second match on the card, Sweet Georgia Brown pinned Miss Texas in a lumberjack match. And this all kind of ties together, but I remember reading details in the Observer. We may get to it here later. Sweet Georgia Brown pinned Miss Texas lumberjack match because Koko B. Ware came out and knocked Miss Texas out. Which
with a real punch.
Ties it all back together.
For real, he knocked her out.
Yes. Bitch! You better pray, bitch. Oh yeah.
About my mama no more, bitch.
I'm gonna knock
Did he
the
throw
weave
up
out
in her
your
mouth?
head.
Yeah, I think
Reggie fucking killed me. We didn't mention this, but because you just said that when he said we're gonna send her back to Dallas for that horse with no tail there. I was like, oh my god! Oh, that's such a good joke.
Oh my God, Reggie's the best. So the first match of the tag team title tournament, PG-13 beat the American Eagles. Moondog Spike and Moondog Cujo defeated Jeff Gaylord and Mike Anthony. Jerry the King Lawler and his tag team partner, the Red Knight. We'll keep that a mystery for just a moment on who the Red Knight is. I'll tell you at the end. But Jerry Lawler and the Red Knight defeated Doomsday and Reggie B. Fine. I would bet you everything I own that they pinned Reggie B. Fine.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher defeated Doink the Clown and Koko B. Ware in 16 minutes and 19 seconds via disqualification. So I guarantee you that was the marathon match of the night there. Jerry the King Lawler and the Red Knight defeated the Moondogs. In the other semifinal match here, Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher defeated PG-13. And in the finals, Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher defeated Jerry Lawler and the Red Knight to win the vacant USWA Tag Team titles when, surprise, surprise, Jeff Jarrett pinned Jerry Lawler, not the Red Knight. We're going to have a little bit of details about how all that played out here in just a moment. Any guesses as to who the Red Knight was?
Del Rios.
There you go. You already looked it up, didn't you?
Spoiler.
Thank you for not blurting that out earlier when I teased it, because I knew I could see it on your face.
I wanted to so bad.
I'm like, Richard and Josh don't go look the shit up, so they don't know like crowds and all that.
I looked up the actual card because we didn't have it. That's the only reason I looked it up, and I was also like, Red Knight, Man, I mean,
this is the month before Jerry Lawler's Knights were supposed to be at the Survivor Series, which turned out to be Valentine, Jeff Gaylord.
Oh, wow.
And
I don't remember that.
Was Jacobs one of them?
May have been.
Glenn Jacobs, one of them, maybe. I don't know. I know for sure Valentine was, and I know Terry Funk was supposed to be one, and his horse got sick and he went home. And
My
then
horse got sick.
Gaylord ended up being one, and but I don't think Del Rios was under the Knight outfit at Survivor Series. Del Knight, that'd been a fun name. I just for fun, the day after this in Louisville, on the card in Louisville, Kentucky, Del Rios beat Moondog Spike, and I mainly just wrote these down just because this little blast from the past. Doomsday defeated Steve Marino, who's suddenly back after a long absence.
I hope he choke slammed the fuck out of that son of a bitch. Choke slam the spurs off that bastard.
That's the payoff.
Jay, did you look at any of the results in the other towns? Did they do the tag team tournament in the other towns also?
They'll be doing it next week, probably so, I'm sure.
Yeah. I wonder because this show went to everywhere but Memphis, so they promoted big time promoted the tag team tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure. Yeah, they usually always did. I know, like in '85. And it's funny is when we did it in '85. I think the finals in Memphis came down to Fire and Flame, the interns against the Fabs in the Memphis version. But then when they got to like Louisville, Nashville, that or maybe I have it backwards, but in one town they beat the Fabs, and then in the other loop they beat the Rock and Roll Express every night. Maybe the other round. Maybe the Fabs did the loop and the Rock and Roll Express. So they had the localized promos were different than the Memphis stuff, so they had to shake it up in the rest of the card real quickly. PG-13 and Midget D beat the American Eagles and Little Eagle. Moondogs beat Anthony and Gaylord. And then in the main event, now this is fun, because again, this is the whole bicycle of the tape deal coming into effect. On Monday night, Brian Christopher and Jeff Jarrett won the tag team title tournament, and they are the new USWA tag team champions. But on Tuesday night in Louisville, in the main event, Brian Christopher and Doink the Clown beat Jeff Jarrett and Tony Falk. So God forbid if you got in your car and wanted to go, hey, I go on vacation this week. Let's ride down to Memphis and see what's happening. And then you go back to Louisville the next night. You're like, Bizarro land down there in fucking Memphis. So here's some notes from the Observer. Now check this one out. They just threw this in to the Observer with no context whatsoever. This is the entire report right here. Tony Adams missed the October 25th Memphis show and reportedly got her stomach pumped. We'll be back in action in a few days.
Good God. And he didn't say anything else about it?
Nothing else. Nothing else. That is the whole story. She missed the 25th to have her stomach pumped, but she'll be back in a few days.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
If this was Patreon, I would speculate. So if you want to know what our speculation is, what they pumped out of her stomach, check out the Patreon show, Hot Mics. I got a feeling this week may be worse than last week. Too bad Richard didn't get to be here for this one. So some of the notes they made about the tournament from the Observer, they held a one-night tournament for the tag team titles in Memphis, which ended up with Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher versus Jerry Lawler and the Red Knight in the finals. The match started out scientifically, but soon Brian Christopher pulled trunks, and when the referee asked Jarrett if Brian did it, Jarrett lied and said no, he did not do it. Both teams started brawling from there, and from that point on, Jeff was using a chain with which him and Brian were handing back and forth, and eventually Jarrett gave Christopher the chain, who hit Lawler with it to get the pin and win the titles.
Oh wow!
So that's fun and interesting. I don't know if that really goes anywhere, but that would have been fun to see that night anyway. Let's see. Doink the Clown and Shawn Michaels were in for all the shows this week. It said they drew 2 good crowds and 1 bad crowd, whatever that means exactly. The USWA's return to Jackson, Tennessee on October 27th was said to have been a financial disaster.
Oh, wow.
Ken Wayne and Danny Davis were back as the American Eagles this week in place of Tony Williams. And then it says Tony Adams was back at television on Saturday. Doesn't mention why she wasn't there on Monday. But it says Tony Adams was back at television, but a new heel woman they brought in named Sweet Georgia Brown was there, who they used instead. She was in a few. Here's what we said earlier. She was in a few years back, billed as Brickhouse Brown's sister at the time. So
I was
there
at
you
that
go.
Jackson show. That's
yeah?
the one you always hear me. I've talked about in the past where I was like, oh God, the Eagles again, because they did a Midget D versus Little Eagle match. Then they did Jamie versus one Eagle, Wolfie versus another Eagle, and then a 3-man tag somewhere in the end of the show. So it
I've
was
done
like
that before, by the way.
so many PG-13 versus American Eagle matches. I was fucking sick of it. And so it was a disaster for me in that sense. But I remember having a good time. You know,
Was there a crowd there?
It seemed, well, we were sitting like about midway. Like we weren't ringside. You've been to the Omen Arena.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know how it's like a tiny Mid-South Coliseum in a sense. We were kind of mid-level and there were people around us. I think we were just more or less spread out. But the only like real memory I have of it was like being exhausted whenever it was the 3-way match. And then I remember going to the gimmick table like during intermission or something, and I recognized that it was my uncle there in the mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I walk up and I've got my other best friend at the time with me. It wasn't Richard. Richard's mom wouldn't let him go or something probably, but or he didn't give a shit. One of the two.
He was sick, probably.
So probably. So I go up to the gimmick table and I'm like, hey, and he shoots me this fucking eye out of the mask.
Like, you don't know me.
Hey, babe, babe.
Immediately, dude. Like it was this, you know, you ever heard the theory that before language, it was like telepathic, you know?
Yeah.
I reverted to my old ways, man. I knew what he was saying with just that eye, you know what I mean? And being like, I was 11 years old. I wasn't smart to any of this shit, but I knew shut the fuck up and don't say Uncle Danny. You know what I mean? And I bought some American Eagle shit, and then we went along our way. You know, it was a fun night though.
Fun.
That's awesome. I probably told this story, but I know I have on my podcast, but I was at a show one time and Ken and Danny was there. They were the Nightmares. And Ken got in the ring. This was at a football field. I was in high school, I believe. And I yelled, hey, Ken. And you know how you are when somebody yells, hey, Gene or hey, Josh, you're going to turn right around. You know, Ken would go like that, turn right around in front. And me and my friends, you know, because we were smart, we knew that was Ken. We had so much fun with him that whole night talking to him about Ken, give it hell, Ken, and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it was one of those things where I bet he thought, I wish he'd just shut the fuck up. So,
probably the first and only time anybody's ever thought that about you, BT.
But, oh yeah, probably for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of the Omen Arena, I think you guys were there, Josh. But whenever I think of the Omen Arena, I just remember sitting there on a Sunday afternoon, looking around and going, I can't believe I'm in the Omen Arena in Jackson, Tennessee, watching the Steiner brothers wrestle the fucking Road Warriors on a house show. And it wasn't a very big crowd. Like, it probably wasn't a whole lot more than the crowd you just described for that USWA show.
Yeah.
But there we were, and it was like one of the dream matches. I was like, we'll never see this live. Right. And there it was. And
really cool experience. That may have been the same one. You know, I can't remember the main events. I do remember though at one of the first two, you know, in '96 WCW Omen Arena shows, it was Savage versus Flair, right? At one of the ends. And that's Ric Flair's ass was exposed there as well. I remember that too. I was like, what? Yeah. That was just like, oh shit, there's his ass.
Woo! Woo! So before we get out of here, let's plug a few things. We want to mention that our great friend of the show, the Spellbinder, Del Rios, is appearing April 25th and 26th at the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you can get your tickets now at squaredcirclex.com, which again, I'm pretty sure that's Squared Circle 10, but I don't want to say 10 and people just type in a 1 and a 0. So it is squaredcirclex.com. Go see the Spellbinder. He's a good dude. Even if we did make fun of his Daisy Dukes last week, he couldn't help that. So don't hold it against him. I want to remind everybody that the book I co-authored along with Doug Gilbert is available for pre-order right now. You can get it over at Producer Smokey. Where you at, buddy? There it is. tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book. If you order it now, you will get it shipped out to you by May the 15th. So it's crazy to think we spent all that time working on it, and it's finally about to be in people's hands, a real thing.
So I got it coming my way. I can't wait.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So want to talk about that. Also want to tell everybody that speaking of me and Doug Gilbert, we will be in Corinth, Mississippi at the Crossroads Clash next Saturday, April the 12th at the Crossroads Arena for this huge show that EPW is putting on. I'll be there doing some color commentary for TV. Doug will be in the ring along with WWE Hall of Famer Ricky Morton. EPW champion James Ellsworth will be there. The former Heath Slater will be there. The former Enzo Amore. And a rare reunion of Farouk, Ron Simmons, and John Bradshaw Layfield, the APA, in the house right there in Corinth, Mississippi. Tickets are going fast, but they're still available over at epwwrestlingms.com. So that should be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. And what else we got here? We got a few more things to plug. Got a lot of stuff going on, guys, in the next few weeks. It's going to be busy. I got to work. I'm working 6 days a week, and then now we got all this stuff happening. Of course, coming up in May, got the big WrestleCon up in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena, also known as the former ECW Arena. So on May 3rd at noon, see all those people on the screen right there. My God, Ric Flair, Tony Atlas, Sabu, Shane Douglas, Doug and Tommy, the Rock and Roll Express, Baby Doll, Blue Meanie. All these people are going to be there for that big convention. You can come and meet all of them. Todd Gordon. And then that night, the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance One and Done. One more TWA show for old time's sake. I've got my plane ticket locked in. I'm definitely going. It was kind of up in there for a while, but now it is a fact. I'm going to be there, and I'm super excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of a lot of fun, if you enjoy having fun, if you enjoy having a laugh, be in Jackson, Tennessee on May the 10th, Cody's Sports Bar and Grill. It's going to be a night of comedy put on by our good friend, Mr. Richard Mulliken. Not only will he be producing this event, he will be performing on stage along with a host of other funny comedians and me. And tickets are available now at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. If you wait and try to get tickets at the door, which may not be available, or $10, but if you get them in advance, you can get them for $7. So why would you not just go ahead, get them in advance? That way you know you got a ticket and you can save $3. And I don't know about you guys, but every $3 helps me these days. That's for sure.
Absolutely. If you wait too long, man, you may be denied at the door.
Yeah,
Richard's going to have security, and if the fire marshal says that nope, no more, then your ass ain't coming in. You're going to wish that you had bought your ticket sooner.
Because unlike the other Richard Lee, this one plays by the rules, by God.
I tried to buy tickets, but it refused. It said Brian Tramel cannot get tickets to this event. I don't
oh, yeah. Richard automatically blocked you. When the first thing he does when he sets up anything is he blocks Brian Tramel from.
Oh, yeah. Like BT is like 2019 Scott Steiner at WWE events. You got a poster hung up. He's going to have your picture.
I'm coming in disguise.
The little circle with the line through it right over your face there. Tell you where you're not banned, though. You and everyone else can call 256 Egg Iron, and you can leave messages like the one we heard from the Iceman at the beginning of the show, and we will play it right here on the show. And it took the old Iceman a few tries to get that down. That sounded easy. It's not like, hey, that's a quick little 30-second message there. Well, it turns out it was a little harder than it sounded. And if you want to hear some outtakes, some bloopers, if you will, from that call from the Iceman, check out our Patreon over there at youtube.com/retro wrestling archive. You can find the bloopers of that. Plus, you can find the hot mics, the post show that we record, that we continue recording after this show goes off. We continue recording, sometimes anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. Sometimes we have topics in mind, and sometimes we just have fun and things go off the rails. And oh boy, did they last week. Me and Josh and Richard had perhaps the most fun we've ever had in a post show, probably the most potentially offensive, and the one that would probably get us in the most trouble. But it's on Patreon. If you want to pay your $5 for a month of it, there's that and a whole lot more. Make sure you check it out. And when you're checking things out, check out STSPod.club. Brian, tell them what all goodness you've got waiting for them.
Oh, been busy this week. We do Shiznit Minute every day on all the feeds, on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I worked on 4 episodes this week. The Record Store with Lance Levine. We did our 7th annual April 1st episode. We have predictions for 2025. Wink, wink. 5-minute time limit was a total shit show. So if you want to go and listen to that, it is a total shit show from this past Tuesday. And yesterday we put out Rolling Into Memphis 215, and that was episode 934. If you don't watch the current Memphis wrestling, I say go out of your way to see the main event. It's WWE ID match with Aaron Roberts. I'm going to put Aaron Roberts over just a little bit here. The problem, Aaron Roberts, 420 pounds. Watch the match with him and Ziggler just to see how big he is compared to, well, a former big WWE superstar. But them two guys standing up against each other, Aaron reminds me of, I guess, One Man Gang, maybe. The speed and everything of a big guy that size that can do all the moves. And he understands the psychology, and everything about the business. So look out for him. WWE ID. He's going to be in Vegas at WrestleMania weekend in that tournament. So be interested to see who they put the belt on first. So that's what we're doing at STSPod.club.
Awesome. Good stuff as always. And of course, more good stuff going on over at P3 Radio. Tell us. Usually we don't have to have Josh tell us. Usually BT can tell us. I don't know. He's been busy this weekend, so I don't know.
I can. I got an opportunity to listen to it just earlier. I gave it 3 out of 5 hoots. Remember, it's the podcast. They talk about videos a lot of times, but never leave the links in the descriptions. They lost tabs, and Richard's supposed to be an IT specialist. All you got to do, guys, is look at the history, and you could have found those tabs. They talked about Adrian Adonis and called him Adrian Grande for some reason. I think they talk about him being fat. I skipped all the Randy Travis update. Some more weatherman talk. And then they had, this was my favorite part, but they had Richard's pool playing stepdad. He was worried about whether he was going to the pool hall or not, even though Richard's mom had broke her ankle. Love that story. Josh also, in the past, offered to kill someone for Richard because someone ran into Richard's house. Josh ate plastic fruit and rubber tires when he was a kid off of toys. Also, we talked about videos getting deleted from YouTube. And Josh, it was revealed that he was a stalker at wrestling shows. He always took pictures of the girls. And they only did one tab because they got to talking about guilt and depression and antidepressant drugs. The one tab was funny about CBD oil. But let me tell you, it does not. I take 3 crazy pills a day. It does not curb my creativity, but I also eat gummies on a regular basis. So that might have something to do with it. And also, Josh, congratulations for going over 400 episodes. Fun show. And as always, Josh, you were so much better than Richard on this episode. Thumbs up, bud.
Well, thank you, man. Sober Richard's he's a different guy. He's funny. He's still funny, and that's what's important. He just doesn't blurt out his obscenities as much as he used to, I guess. But yeah, He's still going to be funny May the 10th. And man, I need to do something that I don't reckon we've ever done before on here, but man, tinyurl.com/P3Radio tees TEES. And buy a lot of our shirts, please. We got like 8 or 11, some shit. They're all great. They'll all get you laid. If you wear one of our shirts out, we guarantee you to get some cooch. We guarantee it. And if not, we'll send you all your money back, guaranteed.
I thought the guarantee was if the shirt didn't get them laid, that you would personally come and take care of that for them, or send BT on your behalf.
Yeah,
I guess I misunderstood the direction. I got to cancel my order, but
there is some fine print and all that, though.
Yeah,
there is fine print, but you'll see that after you buy the shirt. It'll be fun.
Well, now you tell me I've already ordered 3. Supposed to be here next week.
Usually the gimmick is you can either get laid or use it as cleanup for yourself afterwards. But
well, producer Smokey will have that URL typed up to put on the screen moving forward. Now that I know that, so we'll have that ready to pitch up here on the screen next week.
Sweet.
Sorry, we didn't have it this week.
No,
also, make sure you check out all things related to the podcast at USWApodcast.com. Links to the social media, to our merch, to the YouTube channel, to the Patreon. Anything you could want related to this show, you can find it there at USWApodcast.com. For all things related to the Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich podcast, you can go to DougGilbertPodcast.com. Dangerous Conversations returns this Wednesday night. And I'm not going to go into all that here because it's kind of a long story, but you can go to DougGilbertPodcast.com, find the links there, and make sure you check out WrestleCopia.com, where this show and a ton of other great wrestling podcasts and other contents exist. Gets updated daily over there at WrestleCopia.com. Anything else, guys, before we sign off here?
I just want to thank. I've had people start reaching out to me about my appearances on the podcast, and so thank y'all for reaching out. We have a fun time here, and I'm going to be here a lot in April. So if you like me better than Richard, and hell, I know everybody likes me better than Richard, but if you do, then be happy because I'll be here. I think every week but one, right, Gene?
Every one but Easter. And if just to make it a clean sweep, if you want to join us on Easter, you're more than welcome to. We can all 4 be here together.
I got a bunny outfit I could wear for y'all if you want.
There you go. That's worth the price of admission right there. I didn't know if you were going to be busy hiding eggs that day or if he was going to be in church. I didn't know. But like I said, we can have a foursome that day.
Man, I hide eggs every weekend, if you know what I mean. Woo!
And I think you do. All right. Well, with that, we are going to sign off. We'll see you here next week for another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast.